south and east of downtown Kansas City, including Jackson County, the far northern portion of Cass County, and the far southeastern portion of Johnson County over on the Kansas side. This does include the city of Lee Summit. It also includes areas along 435 and 470 south of Independence Center. This tornado warning goes up until about 8:15 or so. Again, this includes Cass, Jackson, and Johnson County. We are going to stay on the air with you until at least 8:15 as we watch this storm move through the heart of Jackson County and the east side of the Kansas City metropolitan area. Flooding rains are a big issue, and strong, potentially damaging winds, whether or not it's from a tornado or it's from just strong straight line winds. I want you folks in Jackson County in particular and the far northern part of Cass County to go ahead and take cover from this storm. In other words, I want you to get to a lower level of your home. I want you to get down towards the basement. I want you to get to an interior room, perhaps a hallway, something like that. Just make sure you are as low to the ground as you possibly can get. Again, this is for Jackson County in particular and the far northern part of Cass County over on the Missouri side. These storms have a history of producing a ton of rain, very, very vivid lightning, very loud cracks of thunder. That's not going to hurt you. These strong and gusty winds and possibly, maybe, one of these little spin-ups along the leading edge of this type of situation, that is what is concerning. Gary, can you do me a favor? Can you go ahead and zoom me into this and put a storm track on that for me for Jackson County? Let's see.
Moving near Grandview is where they're thinking it's located.
Okay.
It's moving east at about 35.
Okay, so the storm's moving eastbound at around 35 miles an hour. Thank you, Gary, by the way, for taking off that lightning for me. So around the Grandview area, over towards Lee Summit, I want you folks in Lake Lotawana, Greenwood, Pleasant Hill, Blue Springs, go ahead and take cover from this because, again, even if it's not producing a tornado, it probably is producing maybe 60 to 80 mile an hour winds, if not something a little bit more substantial than that. So this is going to be heading towards Raytown by about 7:50, Greenwood by about 8 o'clock, Grain Valley by about 8:14, and Bates City by about 8:26. And again, while I have not seen any reports of tornadoes, correct? Or do you, Carly, have anything?
I don't have any reports of tornadoes, but the sirens are going off right now in Independence. And for those of you, you know what, Stu, if you can hear me right now, Michelle Bogowith lives in the track of she is in the path of this tornado warning. We're trying to get her on the phone right now. So Stu, if you can slack me the number to get her or get her on the phone, give her a call. She'll be happy to give us a report of what's happening because she is in the path of this tornado warned storm. Let's see here. There was basically some extensive straight line damage, wind damage located near the town of Grandview. And as this tornado warned storm, again, radar indicated, we don't have any confirmation of this, as it was moving over the town of Grandview, there was extensive straight line wind damage.
Severe asthma. Fasenra is designed to target and remove these cells.
In the southeast part of the Kansas City area, but sirens are going off right now in many, many communities. So if you're just waking up, if you're like, I think I hear sirens.
Joco's sounding sirens
some
too.
Sirens. Again, this is heading towards the Raytown area, so all of these communities are probably triggering off their sirens right now. And again, even though we don't have any reports at this point of a tornado on the ground, this thunderstorm is probably producing winds in excess of 70 miles an hour, and it's probably doing some destruction with those strong straight line winds. We think we might have Michelle Bogowith on the line right now. Michelle, what's going on where you are?
Hey, Joe, I am out in Lee Summit, as you guys know, and we are, just to kind of give you a perspective of where we live, we back up to 470. We are pretty close to 50 highway as well. And we have been sitting here. The lightning has been loud. It has been cracking and rumbling and shaking our entire house. And I've been watching these storms move in, and starting to actually kind of see this eerie calm. It is raining right now. There's a ton of lightning. The sirens have been blaring. I stepped outside very briefly to see if I could see a wall cloud or anything, and all I see is a pitch black sky out to our west with those impending storms that will be moving in. But for the time being, I haven't even picked up on the winds just yet. So it has yet to move into this part of Lee Summit, but I can definitely see out to the west that it is coming. So we are probably going to be heading downstairs just to be on the safe side here very, very shortly.
Yeah, Michelle, the strongest storms or the strongest winds, I should say, are not quite to Lee Summit yet. That's closer to the town of Grandview, in between Grandview and Belton. So that's where we're kind of monitoring right now for potentially some very strong winds. We're looking at radar, and there's a couple little inflows right along the leading edge of the radar, and I think that's part of the reason also they're a little concerned. So we're keeping an eye on that. Get into your safe spot. Thank you for that report, Joe.
Yeah.
We'll get it back over to you, and we're going to check back with Michelle if she has any additional changes. Just have her send me a text, Michelle.
So the leading edge of the strongest and the gustiest winds are right along 291.
Thank you.
So that's going to be roughly from near the Lee Summit area up towards Independence, and that's right in through here, right across the heart of Jackson County. So this is where the strongest winds are, and again, everything is progressing off towards the east rather quickly. Go ahead, Gary, zoom me in right into Jackson County if you can, so I can kind of get a better idea exactly where these strong winds are. Very good. So here we go. Here's I-70. All right, here's 435, here's 470. Down here, 150. So the strongest winds are going to be right in through here, okay, right along the leading edge. And I haven't seen any signs of these little mesovortices, which can happen in times like this. We'll keep an eye kind of on this little area. We got a report, I believe, right, Carly? That's where the original report came from, around the Grandview area.
Yeah.
All right, so from near Grandview, okay, just towards the east of Grandview, this little area right in through there, we need to watch that. That would be just towards the north of 150, heading towards the Greenwood area, and this is 291 right in through there. So this is one of those little possible little mesovortices that are moving from the west to the east. And again, this is 291 right there. Here is 150. So this would be just towards the north of 150, just towards the east of Grandview. Now,
Joe,
sometimes, yeah, Carly.
I'm just looking at radar closely, and it does look like there might be something literally in between Grandview and Greenwood, where you were just pointing out. So we definitely want people in the town of Greenwood to take cover. No confirmed reports right now, but the tornado sirens are sounding in Waldo. So if you're in Kansas City proper, the warnings may be going off in your neighborhood. The threat that we're talking about right now, and we're going to pull this, maybe Gary, I know you're on the other computer, but if you could help me out here, buddy, and get me an updated timeline for this within this new warning. And they've just extended now the warning. You can see here, in fact, they've extended it now to include, I'm going to have you take this track off, thank you. They've included now the town, or right on top of the National Weather Service. So if we're going to get some confirmed reports, it's going to be from the Weather Service. They went ahead and extended the warning now for Cass County, Jackson County. This goes until 8:30 in the morning, or in the evening, excuse me. And right now, the other thing I was watching right on that leading edge of the radar was near the town of Raymore. There's another little interesting spot, and they're expecting the possibility right over Raymore and areas east, another location for potentially some quick little spin-ups. This is kind of one of those events where this leading edge of thunderstorms are going to produce the possibility of a quick little spin up. And as we look at the velocity scans, you can see, Gary, maybe we just shifted a little bit further to the south there, and then we can maybe see a couple of the, yeah, okay, did you see that one right there in that last few frames? First one we're watching is near Lee Summit, maybe a little bit further to the south also with that new warning that just came out near Raymore. Keep an eye on that for just a second. And we can see that there's, again, what we're looking for right now is a little couplet, a little meeting, an inflow and an outflow along the leading edge of this little line where you have some reds and greens paired right next to each other. That may indicate to us that there's a little rotation. And the problem is these are going to be very fast little spin ups along this leading edge, so we may only have one or two scans that show the couplet and then it goes away. Doesn't mean the threat's gone, but it does mean that there is that potential, a radar indicated potential for a tornado. So if you are in Raymore and you are hearing the sirens, get into your safe spot right now. If you are in Kansas City proper, some of you in Waldo are texting me that you're hearing the sirens. Right now, the biggest threat is south of you, but if you're in Lee Summit, you definitely need to take cover. If you're in Pleasant Hill, you need to take cover right now. The sirens are likely going off. There is a tornado warning in effect right now. If you're in the town of Grandview, if you're in the town of Greenwood, if you're in the town of Lee Summit, Unity Village, you need to get into your safe spot right now. This includes those of you in Lake Lotawana, Lone Jack, Lake Winnebago, all about to see this line of thunderstorms blow through. And Peculiar, the biggest threat has passed you, but you're still getting torrential downpours, and that's the other issue with these rains as they blow through in the torrential downpours. We're going to be seeing nothing. The visibility is near zero. So if there is a funnel, if there is a tornado, it is likely going to be rain wrapped. Joe?
All right, 56 minutes right now past 7 o'clock. I wanted to kind of point out areas that are in the clear. All right, so we know where we've got our tornado warning that's in effect for, and again, this is now for southeastern parts of Jackson County, the far northeastern portion of Cass County. If you live in Johnson County, you are in the clear. If the sirens are still going off, and they did trigger the sirens for a couple of the areas in the southeast part of Johnson County on the Kansas side, you are now in the clear from any tornadic threat. If you live in downtown Kansas City, you are in the clear from any tornado threat.
Joe, can you update people? Blue Springs, I'm getting people saying the sirens are going off in Blue Springs, on the plaza. A lot of people, the sirens are just getting sounded in a lot of spots. So maybe you can also mention those spots as well, please. Basically,
I think what we're going to see around Kansas City. So basically, if you live west of 435 on the Missouri side, all right, so just kind of envision 435 heading up towards the stadium. If you live west of 435, you're fine. There is no tornadic threat for you, despite the fact that you might be hearing the sirens right now. If you live in Lee Summit, if you live in the Blue Springs area, east of Independence Center, all right, Independence Center area points north, you are okay, at least for the time being. If you live in the Blue Springs area, if you live somewhere along I-70 east of Blue Springs in Jackson County, I want you to go ahead and take cover. If you live in Lee Summit, down towards the Lone Jack area, down into Pleasant Hill, over towards Greenwood, I want you too to take cover. If you live west of there, Olathe, Overland Park, Bonner Springs, Parkville, up towards Excelsior Springs, you are in the clear and you're not so much concerned about tornadic winds. You are concerned about more flooding rain. So this is what's going on right now, north and west of this particular area. So this particular area in Jackson County and northern Cass County is the area of most concern. This is something that would happen very, very quickly. And even if it's not a tornado, it may still be something in the neighborhood of 60 to 80 mile an hour winds. Let's go ahead and check in now. Abby Eden is on the phone line. Abby, bring us up to date.
Hey, Joe. We are near the intersection of I-35 and the 75th Street exit right there in Johnson County near 75th and Antioch. And we're in our basement because the sirens did go off here. We're sort of in a calm sort of area right now. We had a lot of wind, a lot of lightning, torrential rain about 10 minutes ago. And now there's nothing. I'm not even really seeing rain where we are, but the wind has completely stopped. The lightning has continued. We've had the power flicker on and off multiple times this evening, but I just heard you say that we are looking pretty good in our area, so that makes me feel a lot better. But yeah, we're still in the basement.
Major lightning strikes on our tower camera right there. Hey, Abby, I can hear you right now, darling. The threat for you has certainly passed. I want to tell you guys, stay where you are for a little bit longer, just because there's, still some very strong winds. But the threat for a tornado has passed your location. I am getting reports now that Independence is sounding their sirens for a second time. Some spots in Johnson County are still hearing their sirens. I suspect, and some of these counties have their own criteria, that they sound the sirens sometimes because of the wind threat. So while it's not necessarily a tornadic threat, the winds are so strong. And Joe and I were just chatting right along 150 highway is where there's possibly some rotation right now. And Gary, he's been running radar for us. Joe's at the wall. He's keeping an eye on things. Joe, do you have any new information? Otherwise, I'm going to stair-step people through maybe some timeline for some cities for arrival.
Okay, why don't you go ahead? Yeah, I don't have any real new information. Again, no reports of anybody actually seeing a tornado touchdown, but perhaps maybe our main focus should be on these strong straight line winds. And regardless of whether or not some damage occurs, whether it be from a tornado or strong straight line winds, damage is damage. And that's why we want you to pay very, very close attention to what's going on. And again, in particular, around Lake Lotawana, around Lee Summit, around Greenwood, around Lone Jack, down towards Pleasant Hill, and as I mentioned, the Greenwood area, basically very close to the 150 highway corridor area, which is right in through here. Actually, that's 50 highway, I should say, from, through Jackson County down into 150 highway. This is the area that we're most concerned about. And again, just get into your safe spot. If you live further west of there, the winds would be subsiding right now in Overland Park. But I will tell you that I just saw a wind report a little while ago over towards Douglas County around the Lawrence area of some 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, even through the Lawrence area, and that was a little while ago. So
Joe,
again,
Oak Grove
this is the
sounding
main area of concern.
Oak Grove is also sounding sirens right now. Some people are posting on Facebook, and as you mentioned, you know what, we're going to recap for people who may be just turning the television on because they are hearing the sirens, they're getting the alerts on their phone. I'm going to break down a couple of the different warnings. So we're going to start with the two different tornado warnings. This one that we're going to focus on is for Cass and Jackson counties until 8:30. Pleasant Hills radar is about to have this line pass right on top of it. So if anyone's going to have some confirmation, it's the meteorologists who have been working overtime this past week at the Pleasant Hill station, the National Weather Service office. That's what this circle is here. So don't be alarmed when you see this circle on velocity scans. That's not a big hole. There's not a big eye of something going on. This is where the radar is located, right along 7 and 58, the intersection there. And 291 is someplace we've also been watching as this line kind of progresses off to the east. So that particular warning for Cass and Jackson goes until 8:30. The other warning a little bit further north for parts of Jackson goes until 8:15. And Gary, I appreciate you running the radar around. That includes those of you in Lake Lotawana, Lee Summit, Unity Village. And for those who are just joining us, those are the two counties that we've been focusing on where we've had some reports of some very strong winds and the possibility for even maybe a brief spin up. I'm just getting a text from Michelle, and she says they're in the basement and their winds are very intense moving through Lee Summit right now. So if you're in Lee Summit, I hope you are in your safe spot. If you are in the path of this storm, and I'm going to go through a couple cities right now where you need to take cover. We're talking about Lee Summit. We're talking about Greenwood. Pleasant Hill, Lake Winnebago, those of you in Lake Lotawana, Unity Village even, you're on the north side of things, you need to take cover. Lone Jack, you need to get into your basement. Pleasant Hill, those are some of the cities that are in the path of this warned area. Even Raymore, you're still under a tornado warning right now, so we do want you to take cover as well. One thing I just thought about, guys, we do have some weather cameras that might be pointing that direction, so we might want to check and see if we have anything down in that vicinity, Gary, while you're over there. I appreciate that. And just know that as we go through this, I should mention there has not been a confirmed tornado. However, we are dealing with prolific rainfall right now. So if there is a funnel cloud, if there is a tornado, it is likely rain wrapped because you're not going to be able to see it because the rain is just pouring in addition to the lightning that we're dealing with. So this is a kind of a 1-2 punch. We have these winds, whether they're straight line winds as this bow pushes through or if there are indeed a few quick spin ups showing up. But the rain is causing flash flooding concerns all over the place. So a lot of people out, it's Friday night of a holiday weekend. And you need to take these warnings seriously. Don't go out driving around because there may indeed be some flooded or completely covered roadways with water. So, Joe, we have two different tornado warnings in effect, kind of overlapping each other. The one that's extending a little longer is the one further to the south, including Cass County until 8:30. The one that's a little further north, that's mainly for those of you in Jackson County, That's the one that goes until 8:15. So let's go back to radar scans with you, get some updates, and also maybe update people on the flash flooding concerns that we're also dealing with.
And we've seen some incredible amounts of rain come on down, and this is what the main area of concern has been all day long, anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rain, and some of you have seen probably 2 or 3 inches of rain come down just like that. As far as our tornado warning goes, and we're going to maintain coverage through 8:30 this evening until hopefully this warning expires and they don't issue it further, as we say, downstream into Lafayette County or into Johnson County on the Missouri side. But for those of you in the Lafayette County area, especially around Odessa, if you live between Odessa and Holden, all right, you're not under any warnings right now, but I want you to start thinking about what would you do in the next 15 minutes if a tornado warning is issued. And what you do is you head down towards a basement, to an interior hallway, to a bathroom, a safer room as opposed to a room that's got walls that are pretty far apart. Try to avoid anything upstairs and try to be as low to the ground as you could possibly be. So again, that would be for Lafayette County, Johnson County, both counties on the Missouri side. Just start thinking about what you're going to do here if these warnings are extended and moved a little bit further off towards your east. Again, tornado warnings continuing for those of you just kind of flipping through the channels for Cass, Jackson County, as well as these areas from essentially around Blue Springs down to near Pleasant Hill. That would be along Missouri 7, 150, US 50 as well. These are all areas that are right now under that particular tornado warning. That little area right in through there is kind of a little suspicious to me. That would be just towards the north of US 50.
There's a little bit more of a couplet showing up right now.
That would be on the far east side, very far east side.
Just south of Lake Lotawana.
Of Lee Summit, just south of Lake Lotawana, according to Carly. All right, and other thunderstorms continue. Now, again, for those of you who heard the sirens in Johnson County on the Kansas side, that warning has been canceled and actually allowed to expire for you folks, so you're fine, all right? The sirens should be turned off by now. If you live in downtown Kansas City, you're fine as well. If you're down at the plaza, if you're watching us on one of the TVs on the plaza, you're fine as well. Thank goodness they did not have the game tonight out at the K with the Yankees in town. That would have been a real mess. You could see all the thunderstorm activity going on through there. Again, this little area is a little suspicious to me near Lake Lotawana, like Carly just mentioned. All right, that little area would be kind of moving off towards the east-northeast around 30, 35 miles an hour.
Gary, can you pull up a velocity scan for Joe and throw that up behind him? We definitely need to keep an eye on that location.
Okay, so you see this
just south of Lake Lotawana.
See that right there? Okay,
watch
right
in the last. There
see
you
that
go.
Right there?
That's a concern.
Okay, Gary, go ahead and put a storm track on that for me for about 35 miles an hour if you can. That little couplet right in through there, that's the couplet that we're kind of watching. That's what we call one of these little mesovortices. And what happens with that type of situation, it's kind of similar to what happened last early May, if you will. Remember when we had those tornadoes coming through Kansas City proper? We had those little brief spin-ups. Didn't last for all that long, but still did a little bit of damage. All right, so this might be happening again in the Lake Lotawana area. I cannot say for sure that there is not a tornado very close to Missouri Highway 7 and the Lake Lotawana area, okay? This would be very close to East Langford Road, just towards the south of Milton-Thompson Road, and just towards the north of US 50. This is heading towards the Buckner-Tarsney Road, heading back up into the central portion of Johnson County. So that's the little couplet. These are the little things that we look for, all right, indicating that we've got rotation very close to Lake Lotawana, maybe just towards the east of Lake Lotawana, and that's the little area that's going to track off towards the east-northeast. I want you folks in Lafayette County to pay attention because a tornado warning may be coming for you very shortly. Carly.
I'm just going to have Gary, if he can, just scoot the radar up a little bit because there's these little eddies showing up along the leading edge of these storms, similar to the one near Lake Lotawana, a little further south of 50 Highway, just to the south and east of Lone Jack. That's another little location I'm seeing. In addition to that, I'm also seeing another one trying just to the south and east of the Pleasant Hill radar. So if we can just maybe change the location of that. Yeah, there we go. In fact, here, throw it up over. There we go. Thank you. Again, like you mentioned, very similar to the May event last year where we had all these little spin-ups along the leading edge. So we're focusing on the Lake Lotawana one. We're focusing on this area just south and west of Lone Jack, in addition to another location just south and east of the Pleasant Hill radar location. So we are going to be actually just seeing now from the National Weather Service, they're likely going to reissue another warning downstream because of what they're seeing along the leading edge. So this is from a velocity scan standpoint. And when we have reds and greens paired right next to each other, this is where the rotation is happening. There's inflow and outflow happening right next to each other. And we have 3 different spots that we're watching along this leading edge. I'm going to have you flip it over, Gary, if you don't mind, to radar. And you can see how this looks from a radar perspective. And we're going to see these little notches or these little eddies right here, right along the radar. And you can see that right there near Lake Lotawana, another one near Lone Jack, and then another one a little bit further down. It looks bizarre right near Pleasant Hill. That's where the radar is located, guys. So this storm in this leading edge of storms rolling right on top of Pleasant Hill's radar. So I'm interested, yeah, okay. Getting a report now of a funnel cloud just south of Lone Jack. So that was that other spot that I was talking about just south of Lone Jack where we had another rotation showing up. So Lake Lotawana, just south of Lone Jack, just south of 50 Highway. That is another location that we're keeping a very close eye on. It's difficult to see right now because of the radar, but I'll tell you what, guys, if that's not a couplet, I don't know what is on radar. That's probably one of the better ones we've seen right along 50 Highway, right at the intersection of 50 Highway near 150, 50 Highway, and is it Bynum? I can't even see that there. Bynum Road.
Bynum, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I couldn't see that for a second. That is one of the spots that we're keeping an eye on potentially for a tornado that is on the ground. There has been a funnel cloud spotted, which means at any time this could drop down and touch the ground. So we are keeping a very close eye on that one. That is for the tornado warning that goes until 8:30. So that spot is one spot I'm definitely concerned about. Definitely concerned and watching near Lake Lotawana. But this is the one that I am most concerned about right now, especially since we do have a confirmed report of a funnel cloud. So as this line advances east, whether or not it's a funnel cloud, whether or not there's a tornado on the ground, this entire leading edge of this thunderstorm complex has very, very strong winds associated with it. There are 50 to 60 mile per hour easily sustained winds, if not 70 miles per hour or greater. So again, this is coming in from law enforcement in Lone Jack within the Jackson County area where we are under a tornado warning, a report of a funnel cloud. So that is a confirmed report. They're also saying that they're keeping an eye on a couple other areas as well. So this is one spot, Bynum Road, 150 Highway 50. If you are in this location, please take cover immediately. As Joe mentioned, an interior room, your bathroom, your basement if you have one. This is the spot we are most concerned about right now, in addition to other areas along this leading edge. Joe, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to take a little look at a couple things, see if I can't get a few more. They just went ahead, it looks like, and extended the warning now until 8:45. Joe?
Okay, Stu's telling me we had some video that came in earlier from Jerry. This is down towards the Otto area. This was earlier in the evening, and we were keeping an eye carefully into Franklin County. This was earlier where there were some suspicious areas of rotation, nothing ever really kind of getting its act together. I wanted to take it back now, show you radar, because I am keeping an eye into Lafayette County. Carly mentioned that they were going to be issuing a brand new tornado warning for Lafayette County, and they have indeed done so. Not only Lafayette County, but northwestern parts of Johnson County. Remember about 15 minutes ago, we were telling you that this was a possibility that they would go ahead and issue a warning just ahead of the main area, and that's what they've done now. So Lafayette County, northwestern parts of Johnson County on the Missouri side are now under tornado warnings, and that's going to go up until about 8:45. So here's the area of most concern right now, from near just south of Blue Springs, between Blue Springs and Lone Jack, down towards and east of Lake Lotawana, all right, heading eastbound towards the Odessa area. That's the area that we're concerned about. We are seeing these little indicators, according to radar, of these little what we call mesovortices, and those are little brief spin-ups that can produce tornadoes. We got a report a little while ago from Lone Jack of a funnel cloud. Now, again, whether or not that funnel cloud actually eventually gets down to the ground and becomes a tornado or not, it just tells me that these storms are still producing, if nothing else, some very strong straight line winds. This is something similar to what happened last May 3rd, if I remember correctly, when we had 4 or 5 tornadoes within the heart of Kansas City. But this little one right there, that one just towards the north or very close to Lone Jack, that's the one we're really kind of keeping an eye on, heading towards Odessa by about 8:32, Concordia by 9:07, and Waverly by about 9:18. Carly.
If you go just a little bit more south from Lone Jack, just north of Strasburg as well, just outside north and west of Kingsville, take the velocity scan up and you can see the couplet there just a little bit further south of that other location. And it's difficult from a radar perspective because we're just so close to the radar itself in Pleasant Hill. So this is what we've been watching, these little couplets showing up, these little notches on the leading edge of this thunderstorm, and that's one of the spots I'm also watching. So there's been a little interesting maybe rotation in between or just south of Lone Jack. So by the way, Joe, I know you just mentioned this, but a lot of people maybe hearing the sirens going off in their town, maybe just now tuning in. It's Friday evening, 8:15. We've all had a week of severe weather, and the storm fatigue, the storm anxiety is real, and this one is one that has had a history of producing a funnel cloud. We have not had any confirmed reports of a tornado on the ground, but what's probably going to happen, these are going to race through. They may briefly touch down and then lift right back up. The rotation that we're seeing right along the leading edge of these storms has been brief, 1 or 2 scans, and then it disappears, and then it shows up again. So right now, the focus that we're keeping an eye on, 2 different spots. The one that we had a report of a funnel cloud near Lone Jack, which we could clearly see from that velocity scan. And then we also had another area that we were watching just south of Lone Jack, north of Strasburg. So these are 2 different spots that we're keeping a very close eye on. And I want to thank Gary Frank bearing with us this evening. He has been running radar perfectly for us, zoning in on these spots. And these tornado warnings, the new one that was issued, now extended until 8:45. And I'm trying to see if we have any additional new updates other than the funnel cloud that was reported, and also the that was in and around Lone Jack. And also we had that report from Michelle Bogowitz. She said when the winds started in her location just outside of Lee Summit that they started in one direction and then they went 90-degree turn into a different direction shortly after the onset of the wind. So this whole leading edge we are keeping a very close eye on for the potential for a tornado, and that is why they've issued that tornado warning. And I'm looking at the latest scans right now on my phone, trying to get a couple updates in, and I'm not seeing anything new right now, guys. Joe, Gary, you might have something new to add to this, but the other secondary concern, as you've mentioned as well, the flooding concern. The rain is just relentless in spots that don't need a drop of rain, much less a deluge of rain. And we have several different cities, several different parts of the metro dealing with flash flooding. We got a report, and Stu, we may be able to put the camera on the downtown loop. Little water rescue. It was a brief one. Everyone's okay, but a water rescue happened in the downtown loop. And which direction was closed? Remind me again.
Westbound.
Westbound, thank you. Westbound, I-70, right there, or 670 through the loop. So what a mess. And I am expecting, as we kind of transition away from this tornado threat, that we will continue with the heavy rains, and that's going to be our secondary concern. So, Joe, what do you have new over there?
Okay, so in looking at some of the radar data that's been kind of coming into the forecast center in the last few minutes or so, it looks like, and I don't want to let our guard down yet, but it looks like the tornadic potential may have just decreased a little bit with that cell that was coming out of the Lone Jack, Lake Lotawana area and getting ready to move into Lafayette County. I don't want Lafayette County or northwestern Johnson County on the Missouri side, where the tornado warning continues for about another half hour or so unless they cancel it early. I don't want you to let your guard down on this one. If you're in the Odessa area, I still want you to stay in your safe spot. But basically, this is really kind of like the main show right now in terms of tornadic or strong wind potential, if you will, moving through the far eastern part of Jackson County, the far northeastern part of Cass County, Johnson County on the Missouri side, Lafayette County as well. Once you get west of this area, essentially all of Kansas now, just about in the clear. So for those of you who are watching this on the Kansas side, whether it be in Leavenworth County, Johnson County, Miami County, Franklin County, Douglas County, on up through Jackson County and Jefferson County over on the Kansas side. You folks are in the clear regarding any tornadic potential. You are still dealing, though, with some more heavy rain. And again, please watch out for flash flooding. Now, the good news, I guess I could try to find a little silver cloud here, or silver lining, thank you, is that the real heavy rain is starting to transition outside of downtown Kansas City. It's now affecting more of the eastern portion of the metro, and we've seen, as Carly mentioned, a couple of little water rescues that have happened already. And right now it is probably just a deluge in southern parts of Ray County, northeastern parts of Jackson County, eastern Jackson County, southeastern Jackson County, and this is all heading right towards western Lafayette County. Now, there's still this little area, can you see it right in through there? All right, that little area there is still suspicious to me, and that's why we continue to have our tornado warning in effect for the western portion of Lafayette County up until about 8:45 or so. So that's an area that we're watching, and that's the storm that's moving off towards the east-northeast now at close to 40 miles an hour. So just a reminder, for Johnson, Lafayette County, that tornado warning continues up until about 8:45. That would include Odessa as well for Lafayette County. Odessa, that storm is heading right towards you by 8:32, 12 minutes from now. That's why I want you in your safe spot right now. Higgins. But it's certainly still there, right, kind of right on the county line of Johnson and Lafayette County. So again, there might be a little something there. I have not seen, Carly, have we seen any reports or anything?
No, but I just got a photo in. Tracy Harrelson sent this in from Strasburg. Remember, we were just talking about that location for possibly some rotation, and she sent in a photo. Gary's working on getting that loaded into our system, but I'm starting to get some, and keep in mind these are a little delayed, but I'm getting a report from Donna Brassfield that says a funnel cloud was spotted near Colburn Road and Buckner and Tarsany Road, south of Green Valley, and that's what I think started this whole ordeal and started the prompting of the warning. And that's something we're definitely also keeping an eye on. That threat, by the way, for Green Valley has gone past as that potential rotation raced off to the east at about, it was about 40 miles per hour. Gary, you let me know when that does get up, but we're going to.
I'll let you know.
Okay. I appreciate it, buddy. He's doing a great job trying to get all this stuff located in, but we're keeping an eye on the photos. If you have photos, only when it's safe, guys. All modes of social media, we've got those up and running, so get them into us, or at least send us a note confirming what you're seeing if you happen to see a funnel cloud, because that's what's helping us either extend or continue the warning. That would not be the picture. Yep, that's definitely not the picture. So let's just route back. Let's get a tower cam or something behind me here, because that's definitely not the photo we want to have on here. We are seeing some wind damage, thunderstorm wind damage out of Pleasant Hill. Trees are down in Pleasant Hill. I'm getting some reports of that right now. And we're also getting reports of flash flooding around downtown Kansas City. We're getting reports that the Indian Creek at State Line is having some issues. Let's see right here. Water over the road in Independence at 39th and Jackson Drive. And this is what it looks like from our tower camera standpoint in Kansas City. And this is looking off to the east. Tons of rain, tons of lightning. And we're going to continue to keep an eye on not only that, but also the possibility for additional warnings. A little bit of good news. The National Weather Service did just expire the tornado warning for some of you. So maybe we can throw that back up. It was expired for portions of Cass, portions of Jackson. So I think that that's certainly a little bit of good news, as the threat has certainly passed in some spots. So we're going to work on getting some of those pictures up for you and also get you up to date on a few other things. But it looks like at the moment that particular warning has been allowed to expire. That is good. That is some good news. So Joe, maybe you can wrap this up for us. If the threat has passed and we are indeed warning free for some, we will certainly let people get back to about their business as this line blows through.
Okay, Carly, let me go ahead and jump in, and just wanted to show you some of the video that was just sent in from one of our executive producers. This is from Heidi. She's out there in the Lake Lotawana area, buffering, buffering. But she just said basically it was just a bunch of clouds coming on through, nothing overly serious. As Carly mentioned, there is some good news for those of you now in Jackson County and Cass County. You have been dropped from that tornado warning. So Cass County, you're fine. Jackson County, you're fine. Here's a look at that video, by the way, down towards Lake Lotawana. And these storms have been prolific rain producers, lightning producers. So much lightning with these storms, and lightning in and of itself, very dangerous. Now, in terms of any additional reports that we've received, in all honesty, we haven't received any additional reports of any other severe weather around the area. So that's a good sign. That's certainly a good sign for the folks down towards Lafayette County, as well as northwestern Johnson County. Again, I don't want us to let our guard down on this. You folks in Lafayette County and Johnson County are still under a tornado warning up until about 8:45 or so. Once you get west of the county line, though, so for Jackson County and for Cass County, you folks are done with the tornadic threat. So these counties will be kind of eliminated here very shortly.
Near Lake Lafayette on your radar, the new warning that was just issued, the new tornado warning that was just issued.
Okay, they've extended it, looks like, just a little bit further east.
Right.
Do you have...
If you pull up the velocity scan where that little notch is, right here, thank you. That's what we are keeping an eye on. Just to the west of Lake Lafayette, there's another little area in the past couple of scans I'm looking at. It's not super impressive, guys, but it is a spot that we're watching within the middle of that warned area. So it's still radar indicated. We do not have confirmation of a tornado on the ground. In fact, the only confirmation was a funnel cloud near Lone Jack earlier, but we're still keeping an eye on this. This is near Highway Z. This is going to be to the west of 131 and in between 131 and Highway Z in the heart of Lafayette County near Lake Lafayette. So that's one spot that we're keeping an eye on.
Here's that picture from earlier if you want to see.
Yeah, in fact, let's go ahead, because this same line that's been producing reports of funnel clouds, some lowering of clouds. This was from Tracy Harrelson. Tracy, thank you for sending this in. Lowering of the clouds there. You can clearly see something without it putting into motion and it being a still frame. It's hard to tell if it was rotating or not, but still this type of sight, the funnel clouds or the lowering of clouds right along that leading edge, I think is what has prompted, in addition to seeing from a radar perspective, in addition to a velocity perspective, that's what's been prompting these warnings. And the only spot of note right now that we're seeing is just to the west of 131, just to the east of Highway Z. This location right here, it's north of 50 Highway and the intersection of 50 and 131. So we're talking about a tornado warning that continues for another 20 minutes. And this is going to be for those of you in portions of Lafayette County. Now they've extended it into Johnson County, so more people are going to start hearing their sirens going off. And if you're in the path of this tornado, or potential tornado I should say, if you're in the town of Odessa, the sirens are probably going off. This rotation is just south of Odessa. So this is another spot we're watching as well, and it's going to be moving over just south and east of Oak Grove. So Oak Grove, I know a lot of people hearing sirens in Oak Grove may be a little rattled by that. There is not going to be necessarily as much of a threat for you as perhaps just south of Odessa and also near the heart of Johnson County on the Missouri side. Joe.
Yeah, that little area down there, that's very suspicious right now,
and that's why it's starting to get a little tighter on
that might be an intensifying area.
Is that damage that Jerry has right in front of the Jeep?
Jerry is down in southeastern parts of Johnson County, right, Stu? Southeastern Johnson County? Oh, southeastern Jackson County. I take that back. All right, and he's showing you some pictures. I'm going to scoot out of the way. You could take this graphic full if you want. A little tree damage down there. Again, some damage, very heavy rain. That seems to be one of the biggest calling cards with all of that. I should also mention as well that some of the weather radios apparently have been acting a little funny this evening. They've been having some issues off and on for the last few days, if my memory serves. And so some of your weather radios may be getting triggered wrongly, or they may be not getting triggered at all. Getting some weird tones coming from some of those weather radios as well. So quite a bit going on as far as that goes. And again, back to the main story. And that's what's going on down towards the Lake Lafayette area with a potential developing couplet, maybe a developing tornado down towards Lake Lafayette. So again, kind of see all that crazy rains coming down in southeastern Jackson County over on the Missouri side. Guys, thank you. Let's go back to radar if we can. And again, with this tornado warning continuing for southwestern Lafayette County, and this is a storm that seems like it's accelerating. Okay, so the warning technically goes up until about 8:45 for Odessa and points eastward. We'll see if they extend that. So now let's give the folks in Higginsville, Concordia, over towards the Blackburn area just a little bit of a heads up.
Okay, Joe, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut in. There's a confirmed tornado now near Odessa, just south of Odessa, moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. This is from the National Weather Service. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is a spot near Lake Lafayette that we were just talking about, and now there is a confirmed tornado on the ground. This is why we have the tornado warning. A confirmed tornado on the ground about to cross over 131. This is very near the town of Lake Lafayette, and it is just to the south of Odessa. So as you just mentioned, if you're in Odessa, you need to take cover because this is a spot that we are keeping an eye on. Less than 5 miles south of Odessa is where we are getting that confirmation of a tornado on the ground, and it is going to continue moving off to the north and east at 30 miles per hour. So the National Weather Service says this is a confirmed tornado near Odessa right now, and this is going to continue the warning now until 8:45 for Johnson and Lafayette counties on the Missouri side, as well as Cass and Jackson County. So if we can flip it back over to radar so you can see a radar perspective quickly, just so people kind of know what we're looking at here. We're looking at for these little notches or inflows in the radar in addition to what we're seeing from a velocity scan. And this is the little spot. See this little notch right there about to cross over 131. That's the spot that we are keeping a very close eye on. What was that, Gary?
I was just going to say, I got you right here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's going to continue to move off to the north and east at 30 miles per hour. Let's maybe put a track on it, if you don't mind, just so people in the path of this could see.
Actually, I've got one already.
You do. Thank you.
Up.
All right, let's switch it back over to Joe then. Thank you, Joe.
So I just plotted this track of this little couplet, this little area of rotation that's moving right along, maybe just now towards the east of 131, south part of Odessa. All right, so there's Odessa. This would be I-70. Okay, here's 131 heading out of Odessa, and that little area of rotation right there, that's the one that we're getting other Doppler indications that there is a tornado with this, even though nothing's been sighted. It's possibly wrapped in rain, who knows, but we're getting some stronger Doppler radar indications that there is a tornado with that. And really, the only community of note that this thing is heading for is still about 25 minutes away. That would be Allville. Here's I-70, and there's Allville. Now, we'll see how this continues to go, but again, that's the one community popping up on our system. And again, I realize that Cass and Jackson County are still showing up on this particular thing, but that warning has been dropped, or it shouldn't be in effect anymore, just because the storm has moved out of Cass and Jackson County as near as I could tell. So again, this would be the little area that we're watching just south of Odessa. Here's I-70. Okay, so this would be the southern portion of Lafayette County. If you know somebody who lives along Missouri 13, between 131 and Missouri 13, that's the area that we want those folks in particular to go ahead and take cover from this particular couplet. And again, it still looks pretty good to me. And again, we got some other indications on radar that this thing was in fact producing a tornado. So that's why we're concerned about it as it heads towards Higginsville and maybe Concordia very, very soon. The other thunderstorms that are out there actually look like they've weakened to some extent, still producing some very heavy rains from Lee Summit down towards Pleasant Hill, towards the Harrisonville area, towards Lewisburg and Drexel. But once you get a little further west of that, again, just to kind of point out that everything is actually starting to lighten up a little bit from a heavy rain standpoint, still some light to maybe at times moderate rain coming on down for Overland Park, DeSoto, Tongi up towards Leavenworth. And again, just because it says Cass and Jackson County, you folks are cleared. All right, that should not be in effect. All right, this is the only area that we're concerned about right now, southwestern parts of Lafayette County and the far northwestern portion of Johnson County over on the Missouri side, especially towards the north of US 50. That would be northwest of Warrens, really right between Odessa and Warrensburg. And I want you folks in Concordia to pay attention. A warning may be coming very shortly. I'd be shocked if they did not issue a warning for the corridor Concordia area very, very soon. So just a heads up for you folks in eastern Lafayette County that we probably have a tornado warning coming for you in the not too distant future. This particular tornado, or tornado warning I should say, continues up until about 8:45 or so. So we're going to certainly stay on the air at least through that time period, and then we'll see whether or not it continues through the 9 o'clock hour, or maybe even at least parts of the 9 o'clock hour. So quite a bit still going on out there. Showers, thunderstorms, some locally heavy rain, no doubt about that. But again, the worst of the weather now in terms of any tornadic potential is well east of Kansas City, well east of Jackson County, east of Cass County, east of Johnson County. So basically, Kansas, you're fine. But once you get into western Lafayette County, near south of 24, very close to the I-70 area, that's the area that we're most concerned about in terms of any potential of getting perhaps a tornadic wind or a strong straight line wind or something like that. So again, this little area right in through there, that's the area that we're most concerned about, and that's where we still have these tornado warnings that are in effect for central and southern Lafayette County and the far northern portion of Johnson County over on the Missouri side. Here's Carly.
And they just went ahead and extended the warning, Joe. The tornado warning is only, as you mentioned, for Johnson and Lafayette, and it does go now until 9 o'clock. So we're going to keep an eye on this as the warning goes east. Gary was also just saying that there was a couple other spots we were watching up east of Richmond and around Norborn.
I was just going to mention, I'll go back to driving the bus, but I just want to mention that the Storm Prediction Center just inserted a discussion. They're talking about the possibility more tornadoes like this, those spin-up tornadoes ahead of this. And so that's an area, it's not warned yet, but may need to watch that. And especially because that's part of that leading edge.
And for people who are familiar, we are looking east of Kansas City. This is the town of Richmond. Richmond, about 45 minutes to an hour east of Kansas City. A little bit further, thank you for that, Gary. A little bit further off to the east near Norborn and Carrollton. So this is going to be 65 all the way down to Waverly. We're going to be watching that location as well. No warning at the moment, but heads up for those of you there may be some issues heading your way. But what we're focusing on right now was a tornado. A storm producing a tornado located near Odessa, or just to the south of Odessa, and that's the one that they had a confirmed tornado on near the town of Lake Lafayette. And I was just looking at some of the locations around that town, and as it continues moving off to the northeast, and actually they picked it up a speed a little bit because this system, this line of thunderstorms racing east, just accelerating in speed, and it is going to continue around 40 to 50 miles per hour now. This will put it into Mount Olive at 8:44, Concordia at 8:51, assuming it holds together. Those of you right along 13 need to pay attention. Joe mentioned between 131 and 13, and also just to the south of I-70. Those of you who have travel plans, I know a lot of people heading to the lake this weekend or heading to other locations outside of Kansas City, east of town, in the path of this tornado. So this tornado warning extended now for another 23 minutes until 9 p.m. and they did have a history of a confirmed tornado in or just to the south of Odessa, and I look a little bit closer on my radar here, it would be near the town of Lake Lafayette earlier. That is moving off to the east along the leading edge just outside of Carrollton. We're also keeping an eye on maybe a little bit of rotation as well. So guys, I don't know if we have any confirmed reports or if we have any photos coming in. I've been checking social media. I have been getting some reports from some of our viewers of funnel clouds in some of the spots that were under the warnings. Bigger thing here I've also been getting is the flooding that's been happening within some of the metro and really for most of the viewing area. So Joe, I may take it back over to you because it looks like you might have some more information.
Yeah, 8:38 right now. We're going to continue our coverage through the 9 o'clock half hour, or through the rest of the 8 o'clock hour, I should say. And then we'll be joining you for Fox 4 News at 9 o'clock, and we'll be providing continuous coverage, obviously, during our 9 o'clock news, as long as tornado warnings are still in effect. And again, this newest warning that's been issued.
I do have a picture of the tornado in Lake Lafayette.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that picture popped up on social media.
Debbie
here
Lewis,
and
thank you for
on
that.
our computer. There it is.
There you go.
And can you give the weather
Debbie
service
Lewis.
a heads up about that?
Yes, I'm getting it right
Debbie
now.
Lewis, thank you for sending in this picture.
Yes.
Now, it's tough to say if it was for sure a tornado, but it's certainly a funnel cloud. Let's just assume it was. just so that we don't let our guard down. So Lafayette County, this is why we're so concerned for you. Likewise, Carroll County over on the Missouri side as well, just because we're seeing little indications now of one of these little couplets developing in Carroll County off towards the east of Kansas City. Again, I want to kind of ease most of your minds, because now we're dealing with essentially a small fraction of the viewing area from Carroll County down towards Lafayette County and far northern Johnson County on the Missouri side that will be vulnerable to a tornado. And let's throw in Saline County, Sheraton County too. This would be the main show in terms of tornadic production. What I've been encouraged by over the last few minutes or so is this little thin line. This is what we call an outflow boundary. It's kind of like that leading edge of the rain-cooled air generated by these thunderstorms. And so when these rain-cooled areas push so far ahead of the main thunderstorm complex, which you can kind of see right through there, that tells me that the risk of a tornado goes down considerably. So that's some good news for southwestern Johnson County on the Missouri side, Bates County as well, but let's kind of keep an eye on all this just in case something gets a little bit more suspicious, especially with that activity coming out of Linn County. For Kansas City, we've seen some very, very heavy rains come across the area. The rain rates are dropping off significantly, which is a good thing because we've seen some flooding around the heart of Kansas City. Let's go ahead and take you up towards Carroll County. And again, this would be north and west of Carrollton, and the concern would be right in through there. All right, so here's a track for you heading towards Tina by about 8:58, Hale by about 9:10, and Cunningham by about 9:20 or so. These are areas up towards northern parts of Carroll County, towards the north of 24 Highway, especially up towards 139. Here's Bosworth, there's Tina. And again, this would be the area that we would be concerned about towards the west of 65, south of Blue Mound, in the northern portion of Carroll County. The other area that we're kind of keeping a very careful eye on is at least somewhere roughly from Higginsville down towards the I-70 corridor. And again, maybe right in through there. That could be a little something suspicious. That would be in far northern Johnson County over on the Missouri side, just towards the west of Highway 13. Now, all the bad weather for you folks in Odessa, if you're watching us on Facebook or if you're watching us on Fox 4, you've got the TV up, you're down in your basement, you could come out of your basement. You may still see some strong gusty winds, but the tornadic risk has now shifted off towards the east of Odessa. Give Higginsville about another 15, 20 minutes or so, and things will be getting better in the Higginsville area. But if you live in Allville, if you live in Concordia, I want you folks to definitely be in your safe area. And for safety, let's throw in Alma and Emma as well. So Emma, Alma, Concordia, Corda, Allville, and Higginsville, just for safety. Let's get you folks down, if you aren't already, in your safe area. And again, you can kind of see this little notch right in through there. That's the area that we're kind of concerned about. I'm going to see if I could stop this real quick and just kind of show you exactly what we're talking about. It's that little notch right there that could be an issue for us here, probably for about the next maybe half hour to hour's time. That little area right there, that could be a little suspected area of rotation and maybe tornadic potential or tornadic touchdown activity. Now, I will tell you, we got that great picture from Lake Lafayette of at least a funnel cloud, if not something maybe even more serious concerning that. Let's take a look at this picture coming in from Green Valley.
There you go.
All right. Bobby Larkin setting in this picture from the Green Valley area, I believe. Thank you, Bobby. This was 2 minutes ago. Definitely looks to me like we've got ourselves, if nothing else, a funnel cloud that moved through Green Valley about 2 minutes ago. So again, this little area right in through there, that's the area that we're most concerned about, and that area is moving off towards the east-northeast at a pretty good clip. So let's pay attention to that as everything continues to move, like I mentioned, towards the east-northeast. Tina heading towards you by about 8:58, Snyder by about 9:15, and Cunningham by about 9:20 or so. So that's one area up to the north. Here's the other area heading towards Allville, Concordia. Again, concerning, No reports of any actual touchdowns, but again, we're getting funnel cloud reports, as we just saw from the Grain Valley area. Let me broaden out our view just a little bit more, give you folks over towards Saline County kind of like a little bit of a heads up that a tornado warning may be coming for you very, very shortly. But again, through 9 o'clock, Johnson County and Lafayette County still under that tornado warning. I'm not sure why this is still showing up. It should be canceled. This is the only area that we're wondering about right now, and that's through parts of Lafayette County. In particular, again, near, if not south of Higginsville, down to north of Warrensburg. That would be the area that we're most concerned about. Everything back here is going to be just fine, all right? But once you get into central and eastern Lafayette County and the northeastern portion of Johnson County, over on the Missouri side, right along, if not maybe just a pinch south of I-70, that's the main area of concern for the next about half hour or so. Everybody else, the rain is lightening up just a little bit. We've got more rain coming up I-35, so that's going to be an issue probably for the next few hours at the very least. But perhaps the heaviest of the rains that we've been expecting, and really that materialized roughly between 5 and 10 o'clock tonight, that was the time frame, the heaviest of the rains seem to be winding down just a little bit. So again, this area out towards Lafayette County, northern Johnson County on the Missouri side, that's the area of most concern. We're also watching areas further south down towards Bates County and Lynn County as well. So I want to go ahead and bring our viewers up to date. For those of you down towards the Bates and Lynn County area, let's keep an eye on these particular thunderstorms. This would be down 69. They don't look nearly as organized. They don't look nearly as heavy. And they don't look severe, at least not at this point. And again, I'm encouraged by the fact that we've seen this little outflow boundary, that little rain-cooled air push ahead of the main line. When that typically happens, it's very, very, very difficult to get tornadic production. As a matter of fact, sometimes the thunderstorms actually start kind of weakening just a little bit. And if you look very carefully, look at all the yellows and reds, and then, yeah, still a lot of yellow and red, but not nearly as much as about an hour ago. And that's because, again, of this outflow boundary that has been pushed back or pushed off towards the east of the main line of thunderstorms that has been moving on into the area. Here's a broader view once again, just to kind of give you an idea exactly what's going on. From around Saline County, around Carroll County, points southward. That's the area that we're watching into Lafayette County, far northern portions of Johnson County over on the Missouri side. This would be north of Warrensburg, north of US 50, right on the county line of Lafayette County and Johnson County. And again, for Saline County, Marshall area, let's watch this. For northern parts of Pettis County, let's watch this as well. That would be north of Sedalia. Right now, unless something changes, and things could change. All right, but right now it looks like from Sedalia northward to Marshall, that would be the next area of suspicion. And if this tornado warning is extended a little further off towards the east, that could be an issue. Carly, do you have any additional information to pass along?
I'm getting just some reports of flash flooding in addition to the potential for tornadoes. The other issue we're starting to see, we're starting to get some reports of some damage coming in. In Raytown, there's some thunderstorm damage, mainly to big tree limbs. We're talking about 12-inch in diameter tree limbs. That's getting reported. Also some damage to a barn in Pittsville. This is going to be in Johnson County, Missouri. Damage to a barn. We're also seeing some reports of damage to some more trees in and around, I believe, Raytown and also Peculiar, or Raymore, excuse me. So we're going to be watching for that. There's 6 inches or more of water covering some of the roads. I'm getting rainfall estimates that are crazy right now. And as I look at the actual warning and some of the reflectivity along this leading edge, like you, I'm seeing some encouraging signs. The line does not look nearly as ominous along the leading edge as it moves and approaches Higginsville. Doesn't mean the threat's not still there, and we still continue with this tornado warning, but the main leading edge of it not nearly as impressive right now. And there we go. There's some of those reports coming in. But the leading edge of the thunderstorms that have been at times spinning up very quickly, these little tornadoes or these little very quick little spin ups, they're they're looking, in my opinion, where it might be a little more concerning is in and around Carrollton right now. Not so much to the south side because it looks like it's trying to bow out a little bit there. So we may have to watch between Blue Mound and Carrollton for some additional concern. So Gary's been doing a great job getting our velocity scans up there. It doesn't look overly concerning right there, but certainly something we are monitoring very, very closely up where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning. But the only tornado warning we have right now is just to the south. It includes those of you in Higginsville, and I know the sirens are going off in Higginsville. In Concordia, we're hearing reports of the sirens going off. You are under the tornado warning. The rotation that caused the concern near Lake Lafayette, where we had those pictures coming in of the funnel or perhaps a tornado on the ground, it was hard to see because we couldn't see the base of the funnel cloud. Those are spots that, again, that's where the history of that funnel cloud was reported. And so we're going to continue to keep an eye on locations in and around Concordia because that's that same little spot that we were watching. So Joe, it just doesn't look as impressive to me from a radar perspective. It doesn't mean that there's still not a threat there, and we still have this warning going for another 11 minutes for areas east of Kansas City. But I just want you to know that as I look at things from a velocity scan, from a radar perspective, and because we're not getting any additional warnings in, I don't want to say everyone's okay because we saw how quickly it did spin up, but it's certainly more encouraging for those of you watching right now in Concordia and Higginsville.
Yeah, at this point, Carly, I absolutely agree with that analysis. As we've been watching these storms progress through Kansas City, there is no doubt that they've kind of evolved. They went from some stronger, heavier rains, flooding rains. Then there was a brief period in time where they were generating some strong straight line winds. As a matter of fact, for those of you who do follow us on Twitter, Fox4WX on Twitter, I want to say it was about an hour and a half ago that we were first alerting southern Johnson County about the potential of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. My suspicion is, and I haven't looked at the full hour and a half to 2 hours of radar replay of this, but I'm suspicious that this is the same cell that came out of the southwestern portion of Johnson County about an hour and a half ago that was producing some strong straight line winds. If you draw a straight line, you could kind of make out that, yeah, that could have been the same cell that is right now affecting the southeastern portion of Lafayette County. We've got some video that we want to show you out of the Pleasant Hill area. And this is from Michael Edwards, and you could hear the siren, okay, in the background. I understand the video is going to get, shall we say, a little bit more dramatic here very shortly. You kind of see the trees flying in the wind, blowing in the wind. Lots of lightning outside, but I'm suspicious that that's the area that he's been kind of keeping the camera focused on. And again, this is from the Pleasant Hill area. From probably, let's see, it looks like the sun's going down. It's about 8:51, so the video can't be that old. Look at this. Yeah, there was something that was definitely, if that's not on the ground, that may be very close to being on the ground. Kind of tough to say as I take a look. Michael, thank you for sending in that video. And of course, you could always send in your video to Fox 4 News Kansas City, Joe Loria, Fox 4 meteorologist Carly Ritter, Gary Frank, Fox, what are you, Gary? G Frank TV. Okay. And Michelle Bogowitz's page as well?
She's getting a lot of stuff going on social as well.
Fresh in your mind after what you just said about following the storm backdrop.
Hey, can we open Gary's mic up, please? Thank you.
Anyway, I'll just reply what I was going to say. Joe, you just mentioned that you were talking about suspicions of this storm. Here's where it was by 7 o'clock. You can kind of see where that first initial gust is, right, in Olathe.
Actually, let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and punch up Carly.
I'm sorry, I didn't know they still had you up.
That's okay.
I'm just looking.
That's okay.
So yeah, punch up Carly, but well, this is what Joe was mentioning, that storm. He had suspicions about
the wind initially.
Its origin. You can see kind of, here's the wind, and as it moves through Olathe and Overland Park, watch this thing. You'll start to pick up a couple of these initial spins once we get closer to the radar site. And that's that same line. And this is when we had those tornado warnings, right?
And then this is the one that near Pleasant Hill.
Those particular couplets right there. And then as I kind of continue to grab this, now we're going to follow that, and it's that same area south of Odessa. That's where we had that confirmed tornado. And then as you've been mentioning, Carly, this is what you've been talking about here. Watch how this thing's kind of falling apart. You know, the threat may not be over, but it is not looking as impressive on radar.
Definitely not. Definitely not at all. And as we continue to look at the velocity scan, I'm
Okay.
just looking at stuff. I'm just not seeing as much of a concern at the moment. And let me see.
As a matter of fact, Carly, I just checked in with the
They're
Weather
not
Service,
plan-
and they
yeah,
are not
they're
planning.
not planning to. I just saw that also.
Yeah, so they're not
Thank
planning
you.
on issuing any further warnings
Okay.
after this particular warning
Good.
expires at around 9 o'clock or so. So for those of you who live, as we say, downstream into Saline County, northern parts of Pettis County, at least for the time being, and it looks like this little outflow, you kind of see the outflow right in through there. It looks like that outflow is helping to kind of choke off
Yeah.
the thunderstorm, and that's a good thing. All right, because that means that the tornadic potential with this is decreasing, we hope. All right, sometimes these storms do some strange things, but it looks like that the leading edge of this, the outflow has pushed out, and this storm may in fact be going through a rather quick weakening phase. So that's good news for Mount Leonard, Elmwood, Sweet Springs, and Houstonia. Hopefully that's going to reduce your risk of not only tornadic winds, but also strong straight line winds, because interestingly, at least by my account, we really haven't seen any reports of any strong straight line winds now since we got some wind reports and some wind damage out towards the Raytown area, if I remember correctly. Carly.
I just got another Twitter picture sent to me. I just retweeted it, guys, from Mandy Moore in southern Odessa, where we had that earlier warning. And it's very clear that this is, I believe it's just a funnel cloud. It's hard to see because it looks like right at the base of it is right near the cloud line. But Gary, I'm going to have you try to get that one up. It's from Mandy Moore. I just hit it on a retweet. And it was from southern Odessa, where we did have that confirmation of a tornado just outside, about 5 miles south of Odessa, which would coincide with Mandy's picture here, and also near the town of Lake Lafayette. So those were the two areas that we were really honing in on. We saw that pretty distinct couplet. In fact, let's go ahead, if we can pop up server 3. Thank you for that. Mandy Moore, I appreciate you sending in this photo. Guys, that's definitely a funnel cloud right there. It's hard to tell if that was actually touching the ground, but certainly a funnel cloud at the very least with that particular storm as it rolled through portions of the viewing area and impacted Lake Lafayette, excuse me, and southern Odessa. So certainly encouraging signs now that the radar is much quieter, much less concerning from a radar perspective, and I believe in 5 minutes or so this warning will officially expire, unless they're going to expire it earlier. Let me see if they're going to do that. And we're just going to go right up into the Fox 4 News at 9,
Stu, do we want to take a quick break and then join Fox 4 News at 9? You tell me. Okay, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break, since the tornadic threat has kind of wound down for the time being, and then we will rejoin you for Fox 4 News at 9 o'clock. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.